For Elvis Presley fans in the 1950s, cutting off the king of rock and roll's hair was probably the worst thing that could happen. But that's exactly what occurred in March 1958 when Elvis got drafted into the Army. Hi, I'm Trina Young, author of Elvis, The Army Years Uncovered. Join me today on a tour of the Chaffee Barbershop Museum in Fort Smith, Arkansas, where Elvis Presley got his famous Army haircut. You can't underestimate how upset Elvis fans were when they realized that Elvis would have to get a short Army buzz cut when he went into the Army. The public outrage was palpable. One fan wrote to the public information officer at Fort Chaffee, quote, "Please don't cut his hair. Can't you understand his hair is his trademark? How would you like for someone to cut off your trademark in a few minutes?" Unquote. The fans were also upset that Presley's sideburns would be cut off. 3 fans joined forces to write to President Eisenhower. The letter said, "Dear President Eisenhower, my girlfriends and I are writing all the way from Montana. We think it's bad enough to send Elvis Presley in the Army, but if you cut his sideburns off, we will just die." Even though the actual haircut only took 3 minutes, Elvis sat in the barber's chair for almost 2 hours, while approximately 55 members of the press took photos of him with his new haircut. The resulting buzz cut left only about a half-inch long of hair on the top of the king of rock and roll's head. Elvis was a good sport, saying he had some famous last words about being in the barber's chair. Quote, "Boy, is this one a shorty," Elvis said as he felt the top of his head. "Oh well, hair today, gone tomorrow." The Chaffee Barbershop Museum opened 50 years later in 2008. It was restored to look the way it did in 1958 when Elvis got his Army haircut with authentic barber chairs and grooming supplies from the 1950s. Elvis fans can see the actual room and relive where Presley sat in the barber chair as a multitude of reporters and photographers watched him get a GI haircut just like any other soldier. The infamous haircut that occurred on Tuesday, March 25, 1958, made national news. It became such a legend that everyone wanted to know who the barber was. His name was James B. Peterson, and on that historic day, he had his brother-in-law Leon Merrill, also a Fort Chaffee employee, there to assist him. It was Merrill who swept away Presley's locks as they fell to the ground. According to Merrill, the military police on duty guarded Presley's hair, not allowing even one single lock to be picked up as a souvenir. It is believed that Presley's hair that was cut off was actually burned by the Army to avoid fans and journalists from fighting over it. Fort Chaffee will be forever known as the location of the legendary Army haircut. Thanks to local Elvis fans in Fort Smith, Arkansas, their campaign to save and preserve the barbershop decades later succeeded. If you ever get a chance to visit, make sure you recreate Elvis's photo as he left the building after getting his haircut. After serving 2 years in the Army, Elvis proved himself as a good soldier, rising to the rank of sergeant and receiving several commendations. While most biographies and even the recent Elvis movie skip over Elvis Presley's military service, reducing it into a few paragraphs or a few minutes on the screen, I believe these 2 years changed Elvis Presley's life in many ways. There was a lot that happened to Elvis behind the scenes personally and professionally. I have compiled all of these fascinating stories in my latest book, Elvis, The Army Years Uncovered. Check it out in the link in the description below. It's available on Amazon in paperback, ebook, or Kindle format. You can also read a free excerpt on my website at elvisbiography.net. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe and ring the bell to be notified of my future videos, and be sure to watch one of these videos next.